Hello, everybody. We are here to talk about Assassin's Quest. I'm going to give this like a little while to show up on YouTube, as I always do. Oh, here we go. Okay, I see it pop up. Okay.
You literally
Hi.
can't see that.
What? Oh, you
I
can't
put
see
it
it.
up and you can't see it because of the glare
Oh,
from the
because the
lighting.
lighting. Yeah. That's okay. I have this copy. Hey, Jessica. I know you've been excited. She's been like on the Discord talking, like excited for the read along, which is awesome. Okay, so hello everybody. We're here to talk about Assassin's Quest. We did it. We made it through this entire trilogy. It's like such an epic saga. Okay, so I guess we can start with kind of general thoughts, and if anybody wants to share here, or we could give it a few minutes so people can kind of show up. Hi, Jennifer. Mom is here too. Oh, good. Hi, Jessica's mom. I'm glad she's been reading along with you. I love it.
That's awesome.
How is everybody doing? End of summer. We were just talking about kids going back to school. Well, Laura and I both have little ones. Sophia, I don't know if you have kids. No, okay.
No. Unless you count my cats and my partner, which I kind of do. But...
I mean, that kind of counts. I hear people talk about cats, and I'm like, that sounds like having another child.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, they cry at me in the morning because they want breakfast. So, you know.
Very similar.
Yep.
Yeah. My kids are going back September 13th is when schools start back here.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I think schools in the UK start back week after next.
Okay. I think it's a little later than usual because of COVID. Usually I think it's more like the first week of September, but it's all right. I'm just glad they're going back.
Right.
Oh, good. Awesome. Hello. Okay, so we'll get going on this and let people kind of see who trickles in. Okay, so Assassin's Quest, thoughts, overall feelings, and then we'll kind of dive into things as we go.
I loved it, and it broke me. Basically.
Same.
Yeah, like this was very emotional. It was an intense ending. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I absolutely loved it. And it was very emotional. Like I mentioned, I cried. I cried throughout like the first the last 150, 200 pages. I loved it.
Yeah.
Even though it was very long, and there was times where it, like especially like in the middle, I think it dragged on a bit. But despite that, I loved it.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, no, I think for me there was a lot I loved. It did definitely drag for me at times. Like it was a very, very long book. But I think I feel like I love this series as a whole almost more than I love the individual books. Because even though like I don't know that I would necessarily like give any of the individual books favorite status for me. Like I really love the series, and I really like her writing is great, and the characters. I do wish it was a little bit shorter, but it's okay. It was written in a long time ago, like quite a while ago, and it's fine.
I think it is quite funny how like the first book is so short for a fantasy book, and then books 2 and 3 are just like, nah, let's do this.
Yeah, we're like
right.
solidly over 800 pages. I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Yes. Yeah. How did you guys feel about the beginning?
I found it fascinating to like watch him figure out that he's actually human again, and kind of come to terms with that, and therefore have to deal with all of the trauma that he experienced as a human, and not really wanting to kind of go back there, but knowing that he has to, because he's not he's actually not a wolf anymore.
Yeah.
And I found that bit really, really great.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. It wasn't my favorite part. I didn't love being there, but it was interesting.
No, me either. I think that was a part where for me I was kind of like, okay, I get it. Can we like move on to the next thing? But I do think it was interesting. Sorry. I don't know if somebody's creeping in here, and I don't know if it's like a child or my husband. Okay, the door closed, so we're good. It's fine. Like, I think my kids are sleeping. Yeah, no, I do think it's interesting kind of seeing him have to like come back to his humanity and the struggle that was. And I think overall, because like as the book progresses, it is interesting to see how like he and Night Eyes get to where they could no longer do that anymore. Like they're both changed because of each other, but they're really now more distinct personalities. I thought that was kind of an interesting process to see happen. Jessica, I'm with you too. Book 1 was my favorite to read, but as a whole, they're great. I'm curious, like, what other people's favorite? Yeah, I like fair. But her writing is still just like it's like the actual prose is really beautiful. Even though I'm like, okay, but we could shorten this a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Tad.
I'm interested to know the part that you thought in the middle that dragged. Was it the same for both of you? So what bit for you felt too long?
On the road for me, like they were on that road for so long.
Yeah, that's true. The traveling.
Yeah.
But I'm never like traveling is often my least favorite part of books anyway. Like I'm not like if something is primarily a journey book, I'm a harder sell on really loving it. Like that's just not something that I enjoy most of the time. There are exceptions, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually the same way. But I don't know what it was about this one that maybe I was just like so invested in what was going to happen that I didn't really mind that it was kind of taking a while to get there. So
I think that's fair, yeah. It was interesting to see like different characters come in and out. I'd be curious to hear everybody's favorite character, and people in the comments can hop in on this too. Like favorite character.
the Fool. 100%.
I mean, how do you go? Yeah, same.
I enjoy the Fool as well. I love Kettricken though, and we didn't get her the way in this book, the way we got her in the second book.
She was just sad in this book.
Yeah.
I mean, which like fair, like she'd lost a child, she was losing a husband, like fair. Like it's understandable that she was sad, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think last book Kettricken was among my favorites, but I love the Fool every time.
They're just such an interesting character.
Such an interesting character. Yeah. Okay, Jessica is on Team Kettricken. Call an Uber already. I know.
Yeah.
Look, I hear you. I'm like, how long is this road? Like, why are we still on it?
I know. That took forever.
It did. It's so funny. Yeah. Patience, I know. Patience is great. Honestly, she had such a cool character arc, and then we see a little bit of her at the end of the book where she's now like the lady of the key.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I love it for her. Night Eyes in the Fool second. Okay. Fool is the she did Kettricken dirty. Kettricken, I mean, she kind of lost but I mean, like, her whole thing was being the sacrifice, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she was.
Yeah, but like she was supposed to be the sacrifice. She wasn't supposed to have to sacrifice everything. Like,
Right.
oh,
Right, which I
man.
guess was part of
Yeah.
it. But yeah, Mom loved Night Eyes. Yeah, Night Eyes is good. I thought it was really interesting, all the stuff with the fool in this book that was kind of playing with these ideas of like gender and sexuality and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially like given when this book came out, I was like, this is so interesting that we're having these conversations where he was like, you're just talking about plumbing. I was like,
I know, I loved that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And when he was like, well, or they were like, why does your love for, when talking to Fitz, your love for me and your love for Molly, why does that have to be different?
Right. And why does it matter what gender I am?
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yeah.
very interesting. It makes me wonder too, because I also read, was it, I can't remember, was it this month that I read it? Because I read that, that novella everybody had talked about, and I can't remember now if I had read it
Yeah.
before this live show or the last one. Did I? Okay. No.
You had just started it when we were doing the last one.
Right. I read it early this month. So it was interesting because also reading that, The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince, the narrator is a queer woman. And it was really interesting because there was this like relationship in that novella. So like just seeing the like how it does make me wonder. I'm like, is like Robin Hobb, like it, I mean, she doesn't talk about it publicly, so like I don't know if she or if anybody knows if she identifies as queer, but it's interesting like how much this stuff gets layered into her work. And maybe she's not, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
How do you remove Patience? She's great. Yeah,
I did love hearing about all the badass stuff she was doing back in
I know.
Buckkeep though.
I did too. She was great.
Kettle.
Kettle.
I knew there was something
was
funny
great.
about Kettle from
Yeah.
the moment we met her. I was like,
Well,
go on.
Yeah, well, at first because she kept talking about time, and so I was like, is this the new Lady Time? Like at first I was wondering if maybe she was like, what's his name in disguise? Like that was my
Jade.
first
That's what I thought too.
It's really
I
interesting.
like when I was reading it and we get to the chapter that's called like Kettle's Secrets or something, I sent a picture of the chapter header to my friend who's read the book before.
Yeah.
And was like, finally!
Yeah.
Gotta know.
Yeah. It was really interesting. Yeah, she was an interesting character.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse. Yeah. This is the third book in the series. It's a great series. You should definitely check it out. But yeah, this is book 3 in the trilogy. So sorry if there's spoilers. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems that way. For sure.
When was it published?
I want to say like the 90s.
97,
Yeah,
was
97.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
it was a very different time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting and like how widely acclaimed these are, and that's not something I hear a lot of people talking about when they talk about the series usually, unless I've just missed it, you know.
No, I've never heard anybody mention that about it either.
Yeah.
Really, all I knew about this series is that it's kind of classic fantasy written by a woman, and that's basically all I knew about it before I started it. And I was like, yeah, there's so much more to this than just a classic fantasy written by a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued to read on because I know that like there's so many books in the realm of the elderlings, and there's crossover between characters. Like I know the Fool shows up in almost every book.
Yeah. Which is great. I'm so
Yeah.
happy about that.
And his transformation, like that was interesting. Did you
Yeah.
not catch that? Like his eye color changed, his hair color changed, his skin color started changing. Like,
Right.
But I knew it was the Fool immediately. As soon as they entered the scene, I was like, that's the Fool, right? And then she was like, yeah, it's the Fool. I was like,
yeah,
yes, I've been waiting for them to
I
come.
love it. I know, finally. Yeah,
Amazing.
oh, it's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Because like
Yeah.
you said, he's like an adult now for his people.
hmm And it's funny because I suppose it is said in the first book, but I guess I'd just kind of forgotten because I read the Fool as such a like wise and mature character.
Yeah,
But really, they were quite young in the first book. And I think I'd kind of forgotten that. So when they were talking about
yeah,
how the Fool is an adult now, I was like, oh, yeah. But maybe that's just by comparison to Fitz, who really
yeah.
should be called the Fool because, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Had to literally see a vision of Molly being pregnant to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
I know.
I know.
Like, I mean, everybody was trying to clue you in on this without actually telling you, and you could not figure it out.
Truly.
Yep.
The only step they could take further is to clobber you around the head with the baby. Like, seriously.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, like I want to talk about the Fitz Molly stuff, but before we like jump away from the Fool thing, I guess like two kind of thoughts I had. One is I think he's old. Like he's for his people, he's just going through puberty, but like he's been alive a long time. You know what I mean? Which is interesting, which I think like makes more sense to me of why he like fell in love with Fitz. Because at first I was like, this seems kind of strange, but I guess if you think of it as like you just have this like really extended adolescence, they're kind of around the same like developmental stage. So I'm like, okay, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such an interesting character. I'm really interested to see what Hobb is going to do with the Fool throughout all of these books, and I hope we're going to find out more about the Fool's people and
Yeah,
all of that. I think it's fascinating.
I agree. Yes. Never realized he was. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. Yes. Okay. This is also that was interesting because there was like it looked like a woman.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. Like, was it actually the Fool? Was it an ancestor of the Fool? Is there some kind of a reincarnation thing taking place here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because the Fool mentioned that like he had memories of that, or that was familiar to him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but then after he came out of it, he couldn't remember like what he had said. Yeah, that was very interesting. There's a lot. I feel like this leaves a lot of like unanswered questions.
Yeah.
That I wonder.
Those white ships as well. Like, whatever happened to
they were mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, they were mentioned as gone, I think.
They destroyed a couple of them with the dragons. Yeah.
But they never explained what they were.
No. Well, sort of they did. They kind of did.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole thing of like I think those were the ones that had the blocks of stone that they talked about at the end.
Right.
So
and that's like how they used those to forge people.
Right. But it was like the cyclical thing that they had been forged because of the dragons flying over them. And so then
just the red ships.
No, I think the red ships were carrying people and the white ships were carrying the blocks of stone. It was like what I read it as. Like I could be wrong, but like that was what I thought. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. Yeah, this is true, Jessica. They were mentioned pretty briefly, like at the end. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Molly and Burrich.
Oh,
I don't know. No.
uh-uh.
I don't like it.
Really?
Me neither. I was like,
Oh, it just feels so
no.
wrong. I know. Oh, no.
I guess I didn't have a
Mm.
problem with it because I think the thing is like I think this is what changed it for me is like when I was reading the first book, I was imagining Burrich is already being like 50 or something. And we kind of find out he wasn't. Like he was probably like 20 or something when Fitz was brought to the castle. So like he's not that old, you know?
it wasn't the age thing for me, I don't think.
Really?
For me, it was like, even if, which they do, they think Fitz is dead,
Mm-hmm.
Burrich always kind of saw Fitz as almost like his own son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you really get with your son's ex? Like, no, that's weird. No,
Yeah.
I feel uncomfy about it.
I mean, fair. Yeah. I guess I wasn't that bothered by it. Like for me, it was kind of like, because he was resistant to it. I think a lot of it was Molly was more, because she kind of started it. Like he was originally just there to like help support her. And then I think she kind of, I don't know, I kind of liked it because because I felt bad because Burrich like lost his first love in Patience, and that was kind of tragic. And they think Fitz is dead, but also like there's this whole thing of like, okay, did you and Molly actually love each other? Did you love the idea of each other? It was like your first love. And like if she wasn't pregnant, like how, like you know, like how long would this have actually lasted in the first place? So I don't know. I kind of thought it was an interesting way to wrap it up. I liked it. But I can see being uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I was reading that vision and just thinking,
Yeah.
I don't like where this is going. Is this really going here? Oh yeah, it's really going here.
Yeah.
Okay. We're doing this. Okay.
Yeah, I guess yes. This is true. Fitz's dad stole his girl and his baby. It's so funny. He was kind of like a father figure, but I guess I think of it more as almost like an uncle or something. I don't know. I guess I wasn't, it didn't bother me. I can understand why it would, but yes, it definitely has a medieval vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Look, I agree. They had like a much healthier relationship and way of communicating with each other.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh, I definitely didn't want Molly and Fitz to end up together. I was like, that's just like I wanted him to have a relationship with his child, and I think that element of it is sad, but I don't think it ever would have worked out between him and I mean, he's just too clueless.
No,
Molly,
I agree.
to be honest.
Well, and honestly, like Patience is also kind of more like Fitz. And so I feel like Burrich and Molly is like, I'm like, look, you fell in love with somebody who was not a good fit, and now you're finding someone you can actually build a life with. Like that was like, exactly. See, like strong.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I felt about it. But yeah. Well, and like he was, even before all this happened, like Molly was going to him asking about herbs to try to end the pregnancy. And like, so she was confiding in Burrich instead of Fitz even earlier on. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to hear like was anybody else in the comments like super uncomfortable? Like I can understand being uncomfortable with that. I thought it was interesting.
I also didn't like the Fitz Starling thing either.
Yeah.
It felt just like, well, I guess if it's not going to work out with Molly, then she's here.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think it was intended to be a relationship. Like, I feel like it was sort of like they both were like, you know what? Like, we've been through a lot. Like, let's just like be together and get comfort out of it and know that that's all it is. Like, which,
yeah.
I think if they'd tried to make it anything more than that, I would have been like, no, like, that's not. But Look, this is true.
Very true.
This is true.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
And that comes out when she's going through the whole like alcoholism thing with
mhm,
Birch, and she's
mhm.
like, you know, if you're going to be drinking, you get out of this house. This is not happening.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm.
Yeah, she was kind of irritating, I'll be honest. She
Yeah.
wasn't my favorite character. But let's see. Oh, yes. Yeah. That was sad. Like that
Yeah.
was pretty tragic.
Yeah.
Though
At
to be
least he
fair,
managed to save her from
mhm,
becoming
yeah.
queen or whatever.
Yeah, it was yeah. Although at least like she got to stay with Molly and Burrich and like Patience had another baby. Because that would have been really, and not Patience, Kettricken had another baby. I wonder if we'll get more with Kettricken. Like, I hope the new baby, like, and she finds, you know, like, I hope she finds, like, a fresh start on life, going back and, like, having the baby, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's so many books.
I know. There are.
And, you know, some of them do, like, center Fitz in the Fool again, so
Mhm.
we'll probably come across these characters again.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, Jessica, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think this is true, especially for a woman on her own in that time raising a child.
Mm.
Like, I mean, look, you have like a good man who's like, boy, like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, it
That's
totally
true.
makes sense.
huh?
It does
What?
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does. Didn't like Starling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think if I had read this when I was a lot younger, I would have freaked out about the Molly and Burrich thing too. I think like my age and life experience is part of what like makes me more, I'm like, okay. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is just like having kids and being married. And I'm like, well, you know, like it's gonna be a better life for you. Like he's a better partner for you.
Yeah.
I think if I'd have read it when I was younger, I would have thought it was like romantic and been like, oh,
Really?
so cute.
Oh,
And now I'm just like,
see, no, I would have been like, no, she's Fitz's. Fitz needs to be with her. I mean, I think that's, yeah. I mean, tell you how good I was at picking people for myself when I was a teenager.
well, you know, I mean, I dated a guy who very shortly after we separated came out as gay and was like, well, you helped me figure that out. I was like, oh, good. Thanks for that.
Thanks.
That makes me feel great about myself.
Just what you want to hear. Well, good for him, I guess. Oh man. Yeah, I agree. Starling, I was not the biggest fan of Starling. Yes. This is
Yeah.
I think everybody seems so I think Starling seems to be the least liked. Well,
Mm-hmm.
one of the least liked. I mean, because I feel like you really
Regal.
Regal
Regal
is worse. Starling is annoying, but like Regal is
just detestable.
yes, truly detestable.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. But at least his child is going to be raised by Burrich, who we know knows how to be a pretty good father figure. So
yeah.
And
we'll have Molly. And we'll not have to get embroiled in all of the politics that Fitz had to deal with.
Yeah. Look, I can see this. I mean, I don't think Fitz was at all interested in that way, or at least not willing to admit it at that point. But like, I could get behind that. I hope the Fool finds somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want all the good things for the fool.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too. Yes. And Burrage fills the role of dad.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like on this rotating loop of life, like, oh,
I
and
know.
another child to raise, and another child to raise.
But like he also, I think, like, because that's also how he was with his animals.
Yeah.
So I sort of feel like that's like who he is, you know? He's
Mhm.
like he's the dad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
I'm still definitely glad that Robin Hobb is a fade to black kind of author, because I could not have dealt with that scene if she'd have decided to write it. I'd have been like, no, I'm skipping this. I can't do it.
fair. That's fair. Yeah. Starling.
Yeah.
Oh man. Look. Yeah. Which, okay, interesting thing, right? To like have a low key conversation on misgendering book written in the 90s like that.
That's it.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was interested in like what was going on in Starling's mind there. Was it that she thought, well, the fool is clearly in love with Fitz, so therefore the fool must be a woman?
Yeah.
Or was it that she honestly thinks that the fool is a woman? It's an interesting conversation, especially because there is such fluidity in the way that the fool views himself or herself or themselves or whatever they see themselves as. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting conversation, I think.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and whether, yeah. Huh. Well, I do think it was interesting too, because the whole conversation of Fitz being like, well, are you? Like, and the fool being like, well, like, well, it was interesting, especially for this time period, right? This conversation of like, oh, you're talking about plumbing. Like, should I need to like ask you to prove to me with your like whatever's down there that you're a man? Like, is that how this should work? Which is interesting, because I do think a lot of the conversation around, especially, you know, in like the 90s, early aughts, around trans people was a lot about that, about like, you know, your equipment, so to speak, I guess, being the thing that matters. So I just think it's interesting that she kind of slipped that whole conversation in there.
Yeah. And I feel like it must come back around with the amount that the fool is in the realm of the Eldlings. Like it must be something that continues. So again, it's so interesting that I just don't hear people mentioning it. But then I guess not so many people are sort of currently reviewing these books because they've been around so long. So
that's a good point. Yeah, I'm surprised, like especially knowing a lot of the people who have I've seen read and review these books. Like I'm surprised that all of this is in there. I guess it's done in a way that like if you want to ignore it, you can like ignore it or think it's just like a joke or something. But like it's clearly like she's clearly trying to say something, which I think is interesting. Yes, we did talk about Kettle. We all love Kettle.
Yes.
She's great.
I love the sass.
Yes.
I know.
Just so much sass. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you think you're going to leave me behind? No.
Right.
I might be old, but I'm coming up on you.
Yeah.
And then she's casually just like, oh yeah, well, you all thought I was old. Add like, you know, a couple of zeros onto how old you thought I was, and then you're there.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with this, because I think the reason she was angry about it was because she thought that Fitz was preferring the fool to her. And I got the vibe of she being like, you want her over me? like I don't know, that was like the vibe I got from her. Like,
Yeah.
clearly the more attractive choice here. Like, how are you going to turn me down and then like go for the fool? Like, that was how how it came across to me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
for sure.
Yes, yeah, I agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ah,
A regal plant. Oh, I mean, honestly, that would have been a good plot twist.
yeah. I mean, she managed to cause enough havoc even without being a
Mhm.
regal plant. So
She did. She was such a mess. So was Fitz. So I mean, I guess.
well, yeah. Well, we've come to expect that from Fitz.
True. True.
Don't put Fitz in charge of decisions. Is the moral
No.
of this trilogy.
No.
No.
Just don't do it.
So I'm
When
sure. What did you guys think about the whole thing? All the stuff with the dragons.
So I figured out that the Elderlings were probably dragons a very short way into the book because I realised, well, there are dragons on all of the covers of the editions of Assassin's Quest, and we haven't met any dragons yet. So I think that they're probably dragons.
I mean, that's a fair guess.
But I did think when they met when Fitz and Nightblood met the Night Eyes even met the old blood people, I was like, oh, is it them maybe? So
Oh yeah, they were
yeah, it was
interesting.
really, really interesting the way that she did the dragons things. It's
Yeah.
very, very different.
It is. Yeah. Because like you have to, they don't just exist. Like you
Yeah.
create them with your own like life force,
Yeah,
which is fascinating.
very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and kind of like a literal, like a literalization of this thing of like the ruler being a sacrifice for the people. Like that's a theme
Mhm.
we're carrying like all the way through,
Mhm.
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
What?
And I had a feeling that like people who were both skill and wit users would be important for some reason to do with the
Mhm.
Elderlings. So I think it was interesting how she did end up kind of tying that back in to like how to wake them up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I noticed after reading this that's interesting is like the dragon is on rocks, which like I guess coming out of stone, like on these covers, which I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think mine is just kind of stood on the ground.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that was
It's interesting.
because I did think for a minute when we found Verity and he was like carving this rock, and I was like, oh dear, something is wrong with Verity.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trauma got to him. Like, it's okay, he's been through a lot, but what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I thought they just needed to figure out how to wake up the other dragons. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't think this is how that works. But sure enough.
Just carve a new one. But then, oh, so you can. Fine.
Okay. This is what we're doing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. Okay. Let's see comments. The fool said it was because she couldn't imagine why he the. Oh, that's right, Jessica. I forgot about this with Starling, that she couldn't imagine why the fool wasn't into her. So she just has to be wanted by all the men.
So conceited.
All the time.
Like, I mean, she can't imagine someone not being into her is basically what it is.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
she was sat there like, Ketchikan, hello, clearly. Why do you want Verity? Like, I'm here.
Oh, man. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It's interesting. Yeah, I liked that too, actually. I thought that was kind of cool, but like the wit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like that you need both together. That I
Yeah.
thought that was very cool. I agree.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just imagined that like I, I don't I don't know, like magically vibes flowing into the dragon, making them seem more real. I don't know. Like an
Yeah.
idea of what it would be like.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when Fitz gives his memories of seeing Molly and Burrage getting together into the girl on a dragon, I was like, hey, can I do that too?
Seems like a great way to get rid of past drama.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was so interesting, like the all the stuff with the wit and the skill mixing together, and like how people. Well, and that's part of what ended up being Regal's downfall too, right? Is that like they didn't account for the wit, like they,
Mm,
they kind of discounted it as being.
yeah. I'm really interested to see what she's going to do with the wit throughout all of the books. Like, is it going to get a resurgence? Are people going to become accepting of it, or is it going to get
Yeah,
worse?
yeah,
Really interested to see what she does with that.
me too. Did either of you guys read that novella?
Yeah,
You did.
I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. It was I'm like, this is so interesting. And she wrote it much later.
oh, did
Uh,
she?
yeah,
Okay.
so it was originally like a Subterranean Press thing, exclusive, and now you can get it like from the UK. I think I ordered it copy because it's out there. But yeah, she wrote it in like 2013 or 2014 or something. Like, so it was like quite a bit later than when this came out. And I thought it's a really interesting novella.
Weirdly, I ended up downloading and listening to the audiobook of it because I got the ebook
Hmm.
from Amazon, and you can't read it on a Kindle. Like, it wouldn't let me deliver it to my Kindle. I was like,
What?
weird.
Really?
So weird.
It worked for me. That's weird. I read the ebook.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. It was
So
really
strange.
strange.
Yeah, I wonder.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Okay.
Maybe I have to revisit it
Huh.
fully.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll have a physical copy. I have a physical. It's really pretty too. It's like,
Yeah.
The Tawny Man is a while away though, right? Like,
I think so. I think isn't
oh,
like
it's
live
after
shipping.
Live Ship. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's after Live Ship.
Yes, Jessica. I'm glad you brought my attention to it because I didn't even know it was a thing, and it definitely was interesting, and I feel like gives a lot more context for the wit and why things are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, like the Farseer line, what a mess. Like that family.
Oh, I know.
Whew.
Oh, jeez. It's
Yeah.
just like, all of you people need to just keep it in your pants because this mess needs to stop.
And
For
stop
real.
and like stop killing each other. Like, I mean, honestly,
Sheathe your swords in more sense than one.
leave all of your swords. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Stephanie, if you haven't read The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince, I would definitely recommend it because there are very specific political reasons that the wit has become to be looked down on, and it's really it's very interesting. It turns into almost like a witch hunt type thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sorry.
to read
I
that.
have a very crass sense of humor.
no, that's great. It's appropriate. Oh. Laura, any thoughts on like the dragons or?
Gosh, the dragons were so cool. I don't think I even realized that there were going to be. I didn't realize right away that there were going to be dragons until we saw them. So that was a great surprise. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else about the dragons.
Mhm.
I think Fitz is like the worst assassin ever.
It's true.
I mean, so many times in here he proved it in this book alone. Like his failed attempt to kill Regal the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, the first time.
The first
He just like does not think things through.
Oh, I thought I couldn't believe how stupid he was when the fool was asking him where Molly was, and he didn't see.
I know, and he was like, "Oh, I can tell you." Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, everyone had said, "Let's," Fitz can't think about these things, so everyone's being careful around him. And then all of a sudden, the fool is asking these questions.
Fine.
No red flags raised. I'm like, come on, why are you so stupid?
Oh my gosh.
And then it took someone explaining it to him again for him to realize.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Fitz. He's not the brightest crayon in the box.
No. No, he's like that cream color that doesn't really show up.
Oh my gosh. Well, and then meanwhile Molly is here like pretending she has the wit with a bee and like pulling it off. I'm like, get it, girl. Come on.
I know.
I love that. Yeah. No, Fitz is.
And then when she was just like, well, it works, but no, I don't have any bees left. Priority. Come on. Just like, it's okay, we'll get more
like her whole job is like her business is making beeswax candles. So like it's I'm like I get it, but also like we can find bees. Like our lives are worth more. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, the old-blooded ones were really interesting. Actually.
And they went back to them. Went like off page, so
yes.
Maybe we'll get that in the future, like a flashback. That would be good.
I thought it was interesting they had their own whole like society and like training and all this stuff. Like that was really interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. No, he's not.
He's not.
He's kind of bumbling. Like, I'm like, you've been trained better than this. Come on.
Yeah, even
it's definitely.
Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say it's definitely fun to scream at him while reading, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Just sit there, just rolling your eyes until like they're stuck. They're stuck back there. When he poisoned those guards, and it took like several days for them to like die because he botched it so much. Like, seriously.
Oh my gosh. I thought the whole thing with the like pillar was kind of cool, where he like touched it and went into like the cityscape thing. I was like, that's cool. I just like, I have so many questions about like the history of this place, and like there's so many things we don't know.
I know. I want to know so much more. I still have so many questions, and like a lot of the questions I had even about things that were answered in here only got answered in like a paragraph, and I'm like, I want more.
I know.
Yeah.
Which
definitely increases the reread value though.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it definitely speaks to Robin Hobb's ability to create a world that feels real and expansive. Like it's like, it feels like you're getting a snapshot moment in history, part of the world, and there's still so much more space in it. And like, that's hard to do. Not everybody can create that kind of a feeling. It's impressive. Yeah. Yes, that is true. And he should have known better. And then the whole thing with the elf bark was so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that was,
Like,
yeah.
it actually decreases your ability. I was like, what?
Yeah.
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 Hey, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Interesting. Okay, good
Mm.
to know. There's more to read. More stuff with bees happens in the future. Oh,
Bee stuff?
okay.
Okay.
Well,
Don't tell me the bees start turning into dragons because I can't.
okay, I will say I'm really curious to know more about what happens with Nettle because, like, given that
Mhm.
Fitz is her dad, like, you know she's going to get some magical abilities. And
Yeah.
so I'm really interested, and she's going to have a cousin who's on the throne. And, like, you know,
Mhm.
there's so many interesting stories that could happen with that next generation, potentially.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it'd be interesting, I think, to see if Nettle has the wit, how Burrich would deal with that this time, because he didn't necessarily deal
Yeah,
with it particularly well with Fitz.
right.
And maybe he's learned from that, hopefully,
Yeah, yeah.
and would deal with it differently.
Well, and like faking the wit saved their lives, or supposedly faking it. What if she wasn't faking it? What if she just doesn't want Burrich to know that she actually has the wit?
Would she be able to wit to bees, though? Because didn't like Fitz say at some point like you could wit with like insects and birds and things, but it's more difficult to get them to actually kind of listen to you because
Yeah,
Yeah.
their
yeah.
thought patterns are just so different from human ones.
But also, this is Fitz we're talking about.
Yeah, well, true. It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
So, you know, just saying. What?
What?
I don't understand this. I'm sorry. Yeah, that would be fun to do. Okay, I'll
That would be
see.
really fun.
Yeah, I can't do it right now because I'm already doing like Broken Earth Trilogy
A
and
million
Lord of the
other things.
Rings, but I am interested in doing more. I also have like a big read-along project planned for 2022
Ooh.
that I've been like hinting at, but like I think we're gonna officially announce it in like November. But I might be able to like slot some Elderling stuff in there too. We'll see. We'll see. Stay tuned. I'll see what I can do because I do want to keep going with these. I'm definitely.
Oh, I've already ordered the next book.
I
I'm
need
so excited.
I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm reading Ship of Magic in September for sure.
Oh,
I
that's
actually
cool.
found, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I was in a charity shop a few months ago before I'd even read Assassin's Quest and Assassin's Apprentice even. And I found like these small mass market paperbacks but in like a metallic finish for
Hmm.
Live Ship Traitors and the Tawny Man
Mhm.
trilogies, and they were like £3 each. So I was like, I'm just
Well,
gonna buy
I
it.
mean, yeah. I'm gonna have to go searching and figure out like what editions I want. Oh man, I do want to read them. We'll see. I might be up for trying something like in December. We'll see. We'll stay tuned. We'll make something happen at some point. Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about. Yes, September is packed. I am reading so many things in September. Like I can't do it right now, but yes, I hear you. This is true. I mean, yeah, like in terms of magic, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
Mhm.
common sense,
Not so much.
less so, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense. So I haven't seen. Is Candyman out yet? I've seen the previews, and I actually do want to see it because I love Jordan Peele. I don't usually see horror movies, but like, I've loved his
Can't do
movies.
it.
I usually don't, but like his movies are so good. So even though Candyman looks kind of scary, I'm like, well, I sort of trust him, so I might try it. We'll see. I'm a little nervous though. But yes, that's right. There are creepy bees in that movie. I forgot about that. Thank you. I did see the preview.
I always feel really personally offended when YouTube does a horror movie as an advert, because I'm like, you're making me skip, which I feel bad about, but I can't watch even a trailer.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I can't.
That's so
Mm-mm,
funny.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
I've gotten better about it, I think, since I've started reading horror. And I like Jordan Peele's movies are so smart. Like they're not as scary. Like this is the thing I've noticed about him. The trailers look terrifying, but like I found that the movies are like creepy, but not so scary. They're more just like interesting. So they're smart horror that's saying something, which I like. I can't do like slasher stuff though. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Have you read any of the Junji Ito manga?
Mm-mm.
You like horror stuff? That's pretty good. I've got it. I bought it here because I did this like challenge. Oh dear. Well, that went well.
Uh-oh.
I did this challenge where I like read stuff outside of my comfort zone, and I planned to read this whole bind up, but I barely got through the first volume, to be honest. But
Oh wow. Well, looks cool.
it's like
Creepy. Oh,
this is
I'm like over there. Like, ooh, yeah, that's creepy.
yeah. So if you like creepy kind of stuff,
Yeah,
it's very creepy.
yeah. You know what I saw that was really good and creepy, but like I think something that people who aren't that into horror could do if they want like slightly creepy but not actually horror is The Green Knight.
Oh, that looked really good. I wanted to
Yeah.
check that out.
It's really good.
It's good?
Yeah. It is interesting too because the ending, like my husband and I got out of the theater and he was like, "Oh, why did this happen?" And I was like, "That's not what happened. This is what happened." And so we were like talking about it and then we looked it up and it turns out that like even the people who made the movie don't agree on what the ending means. So I was like, well, okay.
That's funny.
So that was interesting. It was good. It was weird, but interesting. Like yeah, I really liked it.
Mm.
I won't like spoil it for anybody, but this is true. I mean, like he kind of, but it was like dumb luck. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it was.
but yeah, yes, I am gonna try to make this happen sooner than later. Yeah. This is a great question. I am reading Dune in September. Is anybody else?
I'm reading Dune.
Hey! Yay!
I'm not. I am not reading Dune in September. I'm sorry.
I'm excited. I haven't read it in like almost 11 years and I loved it the first time. So I also have a lot of nostalgia around it because my husband and I read it together when we were dating. So, so like,
this will be a first time read for me.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm planning to like buddy read it with Leanna and I think we're doing a podcast episode on it probably, so that'll be fun. I'm excited for the movie. It looks great.
Looks really good.
Looks really good. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Good luck. Okay. People are very excited about all of this.
Exactly. Like, book haul, here's a horror movie. No!
That wasn't what I wanted.
What about my browsing history makes you think that I want this?
I rarely get them. I guess sometimes the Candyman stuff, but yeah.
I did get a really strange advert the other day. I can't even, I think I was watching a World Hoppers video and I got an advert for the Mormon Church. I was like, the Mormon Church is advertising on YouTube?
Apparently. It's very progressive of them. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yes, Dune is great. I love Dune. I'm excited about it. It's very like people like some people don't like it. It is dense, but it's got such interesting ideas, and there are some elements of it that I think probably don't age as well. But like overall, I really liked it a lot. Yeah,
I'm so scared that I won't like it.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I do think it's a good one to discuss. Like, it's a good one to read with people because, like, it's the kind of thing you want to like pick apart because a lot of it is like his ideas about politics and religion and globalism and like all like that's all like built into the story. So like it's pretty dense and very descriptive. I mean I kind of love it. I think the first 2 books in the series are really good, and then after that it's like I read the first several. I mostly think the first 2 are worth reading, and the rest of them like if you want to, but they're not as good. But yeah. Yes, it was. It was fun. We read the first like several. Yeah, it's good. A lot of conversations came out of it, which was fun. What did you guys think of how Fitz deals with Regal?
I thought it was really interesting and not what I expected.
Not what I expected either, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I did too. Yeah. I think I like that. I feel like Robin Hobb likes to do a lot of that, of like subverting your expectations and what would normally happen in a story is not necessarily what will happen in her story.
Yeah.
Although I do think life is more like that. Just maybe part of why it feels kind of real.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it also showed that even though Fitz is still like so just not clued in, he has grown and he has matured.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because like he's narrating the story, and like it's interesting too. Like I don't know, like thinking about that, he's writing this. Like if you contrasted this, I know it was written after Assassin's Quest, but like okay, if you contrast this with something like Name of the Wind, which is also the main character narrating his own story, right? It's very, very different, which is interesting because in The Name of the Wind, like he kind of, you know, he's not perfect, but a lot of it is like he kind of builds himself up as being like this amazing, heroic person. How much of it is believable or not is up for interpretation. Versus in this, Fitz is telling his own story, and like he's foolish. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I find that really interesting that like we have this older, wiser Fitz being like, yeah, those are the things I did back in the day.
Right.
Like, I did not figure out that Molly was pregnant until I literally saw that she was pregnant. Like, that was just the way it was.
Yeah. And then I realized, oh, I probably should have figured that out like those other times, but I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie. Yes. Yes. I am very excited for the movie. So I think it's the cast is so good.
It does look good.
Yeah. It's an interesting book. It's a very interesting book. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably true.
Yeah, that's the problem because like everyone.
Well, like I know people who really don't like it, and I think too because like it's not really like a lot of it is about the ideas, and a lot of it is about the philosophy and his ideas about like the world and like religion and how that intersects with politics, and like not everybody wants to read that in their sci-fi, you know? Like some people are like, okay, can we get to like something actually happening now and stop just like describing things about the world building and like how their religion functions and how the political system functions. You know what I mean? Like, so it's and how like the economics of the planet work. Like, but I'm really into all of that. Like, I think it's cool, but I understand why some people could be like, this is very dry, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty typical for classic sci-fi. So, and I think that's why I find classic sci-fi quite intimidating, because it is quite dense, and then it's got the slightly older writing style, and I'm not so like confident, I guess, with reading sci-fi anyway. So I just feel like classic
Yeah.
sci-fi, I've tried it a few times and it just ends up being a bit too much for me
Yeah.
all in one go.
Have you ever tried, I mean, it's been a while since I read them, but have you tried the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov?
Not yet. I do have it on my list of classic sci-fi that I would like to try
Okay.
at some point.
I read those as a teenager and like flew through them, and I remember them being much more like interesting and engaging. So like that might be, and they're shorter too. Like the books are not very long, so I mean, maybe give it a try. I would like to reread those at some point actually, because I remember loving them, but it was many years ago that I read them. So, but yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
too. I liked it. I mean, he has a heart. He's not just like all out for revenge,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. So,
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, this is very true. Even when it was like heartbreaking for him to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You know what? I mean, like honestly, my description would have the same effect on me, but I know that there are people who will hear that and be like, "Oh my god, no, please, I don't want that." Which is fine. I like it, but yeah. Yeah, Foundation is great. Oh, this is interesting. I did not know that. I want to go back and reread Foundation. It's been a long time. I just heard they were turning it into an Apple TV show, which I really want to watch, but then like I'd have to get Apple TV, which is kind of a pain. I wonder if it'll be available elsewhere. I'll have to see. But I do want to see it. I'm curious or at least try it. Like I'm curious how they're gonna do it. It could be cool. There's too many streaming services, in my opinion.
There is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
I've heard of Anne McCaffrey. Interestingly enough, I think Anne McCaffrey is one of the authors who was like really influential on Brandon Sanderson and his writing. And Sanderson is like one of my all-time favorite authors. So she is one author that I've got on my list. I think one thing about these books is that it's really ignited in me a desire to go back and read a lot of the more classic fantasy books that I didn't read when I was younger. So like I've bought a bind up of some of Mercedes Lackey's books because I'm like, you know, she's an author that's just got so many books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the mood for this classic fantasy thing, so I'm just gonna keep riding that train.
I love that. I love that. It is a lot of fun. Like it takes more time, I think, but it can be really satisfying.
And specifically classic fantasy by women, I should say.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I'd like to read more of that. This is not women, but I guess I'll say details are coming, but like I've teased enough of it that I can probably say again that a thing will be coming next year involving the Sword of Truth series by Jerry Goodkind. So,
okay.
Which gets a very bad rap, but
I think they're really fun. Leanna likes.
Yes, me and Leanna are going to be collaborating on this thing.
Yeah, I thought it was.
They're really fun. Like the author was an interesting person who thought he was writing political treatise instead of fantasy.
He's the one that says he doesn't write fantasy, right?
Yeah. No, but they're really fun. Like reading one of the books in the series, it's like marathoning a television show like a season of a show, because you have a complete story arc with these characters, and then the next book has another complete arc. So they're like really long books. And they're not like, you know, I mean, they're not like groundbreaking or anything, but they're really fun and they have great characters and like they make me laugh. So anyway, we're gonna be doing some stuff with that in 2022, which I'm excited about. Okay, good to know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Kate Elliott is great. She's so underappreciated. She is really great. I think I haven't seen anybody else talk about a sci-fi series she's writing right now. I read the first one and it was so good. Like nobody talks about it. It's like something Sun. Okay, I'm gonna find it. But it's a gender flipped Alexander the Great in space is the premise.
Oh,
It's fantastic. Like, it's really good. And like nobody has, I didn't see anybody else talking about it. I've been like waiting for her to and them to like announce when book 2 in the duology is coming out. Okay. Okay.
I like duologies. There aren't enough
Mm-hmm.
duology length series.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it can be really good. Okay, where are you? Oh, Unconquerable Sun. That is the name of this book. So everybody should read it if you like sci-fi. It's very fast-paced, space opera, like lots of character. It's great. I love this. Yay! Someone else who loves Sword of Truth. I'm glad. I feel like people, it's like the series people love to hate, but honestly, they're really fun. Like, they're so enjoyable to read, and they have like entertaining characters and strong female characters, and like, yeah. Yeah, Kate Elliott is a good one. Ah, yay, Jessica. Okay, well, you're gonna have to join us next year. It'll be great. Dragon Riders of Fern. Oh, yeah. I read some of those. They were never like my favorite series, but I read some of them and liked them, and a lot of people I knew liked them. Oh, I have not read Janny Words. Nice. This is cool. I want to read more Ursula K. Le Guin also. I haven't read very much of her. Cool. Well, we're at like an hour 13. So, any like final thoughts on the series, on Assassin's Quest? What? Menally? Hey, Margaret. I don't know what this is, so I'm guessing that's not what we said. I don't think. Sorry. But yeah, these were great. I'm glad we did this.
Yes.
And I do want to read more, so I'll make it happen. Okay, it's in the Dragon Singers. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you. Yes, some people were talking about like classic stuff that they like. Nice. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining for the read along. It's been fun. Thank you everybody for This was great. All right.
So good.
Yeah. There it is. We loved it. It was a good series overall. Fitz is a mess, but we love him anyway.
Yeah.
And the Fool and Ketcher can kind of steal the show, basically, depending on the book.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good. All right. That is it for this. And I what do I have? Tomorrow, I will be back here at 2 p.m. Eastern for Blades and Bodice Rippers Book Club, talking about The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. So for anybody who wants to be here for that. And then I talked about in my TBR, starting in September, there's going to be a Lord of the Rings readathon with live shows, and a Broken Earth Trilogy read-along with live shows. And Laura, I think you're joining for Broken Earth Trilogy.
Broken Earth, yeah.
Yeah, so Laura will be here for that, along with some other co-hosts, so that's going to be really fun. Those first live shows are already scheduled on my channel if you want to find them. Lord of the Rings is like, I think like the 17th or something. I think it's the 17th. It's a Friday night. And then fifth season, that'll be Fellowship of the Ring, and then fifth season is a week later. So housekeeping things. I think that's it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you.
Right.
Bye.